stake perfectly placed. A millimeter to the left or right, and it wouldn't have punctured the thick mutters. I was debating pulling it out or leaving it in when I heard, "What happened?" coming from behind me. Great, just what I need. I turned to see Jennifer walking up from our office. I said, "Got a flat." She said, "What? This behemoth got a flat tire? I thought it was indestructible." I inwardly cringed. I had had to do a lot of convincing to get Jennifer to allow me to purchase the Jeep, since it was officially a Grolier Recovery Services vehicle, and thus a joint decision, and part of that had been how an archaeological research firm needed a four-wheel drive vehicle that was made for abuse. When I'd come home with a 1984 CJ7 with a full roll cage and giant Gumber Mutter tires, she demanded I take it back. I'd worn her down, and now I was going to get the backlash. She turned to Knuckles and said, "That's our company car, believe it or not. Like we have to drive through a swamp each day to get to work." Seeing he was about to be put between the two of us, and wanting no part of it, he said, "That dungeon is pretty cool. I didn't know how old this city was. I thought Old Town Alexandria was pretty sweet, but this tops it." While most of his time at Grolier would be spent doing work, when we'd gone to get takeout in downtown Charleston, I'd shown Knuckles the Provost Dungeon, an ancient building on Broad Street that had a history as old as our republic. Honestly, it was pretty cool, and someplace I always liked taking visitors to see. True to form, Jennifer became animated at any mention of old shit. She said, "It is, isn't it? Not too many places in America have the history of this city. Did Pike tell you about Stede Bonnet and his crew? Did you know that they have John Paul Jones's original letters at the Library Society here?" Even though he was Navy, I saw Knuckles' interest bordering on the supernatural. I said, "We got lunch for you and Brett." She looked sideways at Knuckles, sensing his treachery, and said, "Perfect. He just finished with the computer. Knuckles can start his research while he eats." I smiled. Jennifer didn't let me get away with much, but she was now fixated on punishing Knuckles for sidetracking her from the tirade about the Jeep. He said, "I think Pike could use a hand here." "No," I said, "I got it. I'll holler if I need help, but it's not really a two-man job. Not exactly how I expected to spend my leave. I thought if I came down here, we would get a charter boat and go sailing or something. Well, if you want the government to pay for your vacation, then they're going to get some government work out of it, especially if you want to be vice president of maritime operations for Grolier Recovery Services." He scowled again, but followed Jennifer toward our office, as I knew he would. He was the last guy to cut corners, and my bet was he'd know more about my company than I did in a few hours. Knuckles looked a little bit like a hippie, with longish black hair and a fondness for tie-dye and hemp. But like the business he had come to visit, that was simply a facade. The reality was markedly different. On the outside, Grolier Recovery Services was a boutique agency that facilitated archaeological work around the world, helping with country clearances, host nation negotiations, or outright security if needed. On the inside, it was a sophisticated cover that allowed U.S. counterterrorist operators to penetrate foreign terrain and put someone's head on a spike. Both Knuckles, a Navy SEAL, and Brett, a paramilitary officer from the CIA's Special Activities Division, were ostensibly employees of the company, which meant each actually had to know something about what it was we supposedly did. It was painful, but I'd done my fair share of covered development through the years. Jennifer and I were the only permanent employees. With her degree in anthropology and natural curiosity and history, she really was the heart of the business. I brought an in-depth knowledge of how our government functioned, from the State Department to the CIA, along with some decidedly unique martial skills, which was a polite way of saying I was just muscle, although it had been my idea to start Grolier in the first place. I went to work on the tire, jacking up the back end and finding something rotten. An hour later, I was done and went to give Jennifer some more bad news. I opened the door and saw Brett getting quizzed by her. A fireplug of about 5'7", he was always smiling and impossible.